Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who want to build million-dollar businesses without sacrificing their health, relationships, or happiness, who understand that in order to build their empire, they need a solid foundation, and that the more they are thriving, the more their business is thriving too. This show brings you the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. Hi, I'm Claudia Garbutt, the scientist turned mindset and high performance coach for entrepreneurs, and I help you get wired for success. Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Wired for Success podcast, where we talk about all things science, self-development, and entrepreneurship that help you get to that next level of success in your life and business. And my guest today is the book professor, Nancy Erickson. Before becoming a book coach and award-winning publisher, Nancy had a wide array of business expertise. She formerly worked for both IBM and Oracle Corporations, selling high-end software solutions to Fortune 500 businesses. Faced with a family crisis in 2006, she changed her career direction, went back to school to get a master's degree in writing, taught at the university level, and started the award-winning nonfiction publishing house, Stonebrook Publishing. In 2011, she developed a step-by-step process to help entrepreneurs, business owners, coaches, and speakers expand their business by writing a nonfiction book that can be repurposed into revenue-producing products. And since then, she has helped hundreds of authors achieve their dream and grow their business. So if you are interested in writing your own nonfiction expert book, this is an episode that you don't want to miss. Welcome, Nancy, and thank you so much for being on my show today.
Oh, thank you, Claudia. It's such a pleasure.
I'm really looking forward to this because I'm a huge book nerd myself.
Oh, I know you are. Yeah.
So Nancy, why don't we start with a fun and easy question? Do you remember your favorite books from your childhood or your favorite book? What was it and what made it so special?
Okay, so I really loved the book. I must have read it when I was like in third or fourth grade. It was called From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler. And long title, it was about two kids who ran away to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. And they lived in this museum, and it was just so fantastic. It was just such a fun, you learned a lot about what was in the museum, but also you just had that feeling of freedom and, kids, they don't get to do what they want, but in this museum, these kids could do whatever they want. Anyway, that was just great fun. And I love that. Very highly imaginative.
Sounds great. A good adventure book.
Yes.
And how did that book did it influence how you see the world? Because oftentimes we read these books as children or someone reads them to us and it really changes how we see the world. So are there any ideas in there that had a profound and lasting impact on your life?
Well, I didn't really like being a child.
You didn't?
I didn't, I had a great family and a decent childhood and stuff. But I always wanted to be grown up so that I could do what I wanted to do. And the thing about that book was, it was like, oh my gosh, here were kids who were doing exactly what they wanted to do. Now, of course, later when I was an adult, I found out sometimes when you do what you want to do, that has some ramifications that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
But, it was, it really opened up my imagination. And that is always important for writers, even when you're writing nonfiction, because you really have to dive into your imagination and memories and to be able to communicate a message that invokes an emotional response from your reader. And in that book, I had a very emotional response.
And it sounds like you're someone who really appreciates freedom and the ability to just do what they want to do. Was that something that made it easier to start on your own entrepreneurial journey?
Oh my gosh, I think that's why I'm an entrepreneur. Oh, yeah. I've been an employee and I worked for myself and I like the latter better. So yeah, I wouldn't say it made it easier, pardon me, but it did make it, made me want to do things right the first time. because I didn't want to do things over again, because as you and your audience knows, when you're an entrepreneur, you're constantly faced with things that you need to learn and explore in order to expand. And so I was very, it didn't always work out this way, but I really always wanted to do things right the first time, so they didn't have to go back and re-engineer something that I'd already created, which is one of the things that we have built into our process to help authors. Is you don't want to do it right the first time. You want a shortcut.
Right. And I mean, something that I think a lot of entrepreneurs are also familiar with is once you start your own business, you discover that actually you are the worst boss you ever had.
Yeah, that's right.
You discovered as well.
Yeah, you're the kind of boss that doesn't let yourself off the hook or let yourself go to bed at night or, have weekends and all. And, I'm way past that point. I've learned to build systems and processes that are really important in order so that business doesn't run you and that you run your business. You have to have a quality of life in addition to doing what you love with work. So that's a value of mine, at least.
Yeah. So what does that look like in your life? Can you walk us through a typical day in your life? What do you do that keeps
Well, I will tell you that right now, after 13 years, I work 3 days a week.
Oh, nice.
Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays. And that's because, I talked about systems and processes and people who are part of those systems and processes. We have some really good, ways that we have well-documented processes, and we have outstanding people. I let people own their job. It's a publishing house. We've got people, we've got designers, we've got proofreaders, editors, all that kind of thing. And so and I've been able to fully delegate all the tasks to those professionals who have skills that I don't have. And over the years, I've been able to I first started off. Now, I got to tell you, I was working 80 hours at first for the first maybe 7 years. And then I kind of got into this rhythm. Well, I started letting go. I'm not good. I'm not a designer, I can't do that. And so I would just I had a hard time letting go of stuff, but I learned to do that, or else I was just grinding myself into the ground. And so about 5 years ago, I decided I'm not going to work on Fridays. And this was so hard for me, not because I couldn't turn my mind off. And I felt guilty. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not working all the time. I must be lazy, So anyway, I eventually got over that. And then I thought, well, I'm not going to work on Mondays either. Now, I have an elderly mom that I am really involved with. And at that point, my daughter lived about a mile from us, and she kept having babies, and there were 4 of them, So those were family days and all, but it was hard to release from my mind the fact that I could still be a valued person and not be working all the time. And so I got over that now, and we have just an outstanding team that keeps things running. I can my husband and I have been traveling a lot in the last year. Like, we're in the United States. I've been on 3 international trips since November that were 2 weeks long each. And I can be gone and things just hum along without me. And I think that's what, as an entrepreneur, you're looking for that kind of freedom. But, and part of it is that we automated a lot of things, which is I'll talk about in terms of what writing a book can do for you, and how you can take that material that you've done and create other things, and some of which are very automated, that you can gain revenue that way without having to babysit everything all the time.
Yeah, that's such an important mindset shift there. And this totally resonates with me, because I used to feel guilty for taking time off as well.
I know.
Everyone else is working. Wow.
You have a habit of work, and it's like,
yes.
I'm like, I am a very one-dimensional person. I'm not very interesting anymore, because I've just whittled everything down to work. And I think that I have improved in that area.
Yeah. Yeah, you learn to get better at those things. Are there any other mindset shifts that stand out to you that really changed how you approached your work?
Well, I would say that I learned to be systematic about things and to be in it for the long haul, and not to say, I'm going to try this. Now I'm going to try this. I'm going to, I would say, okay, I'm going to try doing this marketing thing. I'm going to try it for a year, and I'm going to let it get in the groove, and I'm going to be consistent about it and constantly be working it to see if that draws in new clients. And if it doesn't, I'll reevaluate in a year. But I think one of the things that certainly me and other entrepreneurs that I know, there's like the shiny object syndrome. Yes. You hear something and you want to run toward it, but you haven't completed the other thing that you've not just invested your time, but money in. And so it's a stay the course kind of a message. Now, of course, if something blows up in your face immediately, you're not going to continue that. But one of those things can be employees that don't resonate with your business practices or your mission. I mean, you need to let those people, set them free early. Yeah. But so just kind of being in it for a long haul, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs are a little ADD, and we like to, the reason we're doing this is we don't want to be, in our nature, we can't be tied down, but we have to tie ourselves down at times to actually accomplish what we want to do.
And that's so true. I mean, we have to try things to see what works, but we also have to stick with them long enough to see if they actually work. So we can't just give up after a week and say, this is not working.
That's right.
The other thing that I was wondering is, I mean, sometimes there are just things that happen so fast and that seem to come out of nowhere that you have to react to. Like at the moment, for instance, we have this huge progress with all the AI technology. Are you afraid that AI technology is going to influence how people write? I mean, ChatGPT can basically write a book for you, right?
No. ChatGPT cannot write a book for you. I just wrote an article about this. One of the things that people have to understand is actually what that AI program is and from where the information comes. So it doesn't scroll the internet and look for all these things. There's a data bank in ChatGPT that has contained information. That's where it's pulling from. The other thing so we're always looking for kind of the lazy way out, the easy way to do it. You can't copyright something that ChatGPT writes. It's not your material. It's not your intellectual property. And the other thing that I think is probably most important with my clients, I tell them that when you write a book, you do three things for yourself. You establish yourself as an expert, you increase your credibility, and you can attract a following. But if people find out that you did not write your book, that it was written by a computer, you have totally trashed all of those things. And as an entrepreneur, integrity is probably the foundational plank that we build our businesses upon. And it does take some effort to write a book, but why would you want to have a computer done? People want you. They want to know what you have to say. You're the only one who can tell your story. You're the only one who knows what you've been through, what you've overcome, what you've achieved, what you've developed. And there's no substitute for you. And in our distributed virtual world, people are dying for connection. People want to be connected with you, and you can allow them to do that through writing your book. But if you want a bigger audience than you have right now, you need a bigger platform. You need to be able to convey yourself, your ideas, your messages to a larger group of people in a more efficient manner.
Right. Yeah, those are all good points. But do you see that people could use those new technologies to improve their productivity in the writing process? So how would you recommend we use those tools to our advantage without
Yeah, you might use it for research if you're kind of looking into some things, for an article or a book. And I know that, I think I don't think that Chat GPT is advertising themselves as a substitute for an author, but of books. But what they're doing is they're making it easier for you to write blog articles and things of that nature, more short form. But you still need to sure, maybe you can start with that as your rough draft, and then add in your stories, add in make it your own and rewrite it. And it's a lot of people think it's indistinguishable from human writing. I don't, because I think one of the most important things is your voice. And whatever you write needs to sound like you. And again, there's the whole integrity issue there. Don't put stuff out there that is written by a computer. I mean, just make it, use it as a tool, not as a substitute.
Right. I really like it for brainstorming, because sometimes it comes up with really good suggestions that you can use.
Yeah, that's good. I haven't really used it because I'm all about writing our own. We write our own stuff, but it is okay. So there's a big buzz about it now. In 6 months, there's going to be something else, right? There's again this shiny object syndrome, and I am all about tools. We use a lot of tools in writing to make things more efficient. And if that helps you brainstorm, great, but just don't make it a substitute for who you are.
Yeah, I feel this might actually be one of the next big things. It feels like it's almost like the invention of the internet. It's something huge. And at least that's the sense that I get from a lot of people that I talk to. But that said, I'm in this like a tech bubble.
Yeah. Okay.
All people are like, oh my God, this is so exciting. Just think about what we can do with all these new tools and techniques that are out there.
And like anything else, it'll take time for it to shake out, right? And to find its real position. So people, play with it. It's probably a lot of fun. Yeah,
it is a lot of fun. I use it with my kids just as a fun activity to write short children's stories. And we use one of those new image generating tools to illustrate the story. So it was just a lot of fun to play around with that.
Well, I have a friend who they did their whole vacation itinerary, which that's a great use for it. Who wants to have to go look up where hotels we're going to stay in and all that kind? I thought that was genius. So there's definitely a spot for it, but it's not for writing your book.
Gotcha. So as a book coach and publisher, I'm really curious about your favorite nonfiction books that you published with your clients. So what are your personal all-time top 1 to 3 nonfiction books that you have?
That's really an unfair question.
I know. I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Yeah. I don't know, man, our clients are writing such great stuff. We recently released a book called God's Plan, Our Circus by a man who had 3 daughters, 2 identical twins who had severe autism and mental, didn't have much mental capability. And his whole story was about how you love and care for your own kids. And then he ended up becoming a national advocate for disabilities. President Obama had appointed him on some of his commissions for the disabled and such. And so he's making a big difference. But when people have adult children who are handicapped in that way, they need a lot of, they age out of all the services in the U.S. And so they need help and a lot of encouragement. So that book was really great. Which brings me to mind to another book that we released, written by a woman it's called Sisters in the Storm, for moms of mentally ill adult children. And it is a 400-page handbook for mothers whose adult children have mainly either severe schizophrenia or bipolar. And it's a handbook of how to not just navigate the social services, but how to save yourself. When your child goes down the drain, you tend to as well. And it's an amazing, encouraging, life-saving thing for a lot of families. On the other hand, on the business side, One of our clients, Jim Canfield, wrote a book called CEO Tools 2.0. And it's all about developing systems and processes to run your business like a CEO. Like I said, like I step out of my business and it still runs. And he's a Vistage speaker. And anyway, he's sold over 10,000 copies around the world with his methods, which might be a good book for your audience if they're looking to get out of the driver's seat of everything. But we, Claudia, our books, all of our books, we have a little niche of nonfiction. And I say that it's books that will either save lives, change lives, or transform society. Actually, most of what we do are business books that fit in there by entrepreneurs who have found a way to do something better and just kind of want to reach back and help somebody else. The whole goal of every one of our books is to offer the reader two things. And those two things are hope and help. You know, hope, you get hope when you see somebody, maybe even like me, who say, I only work 3 days a week, and then help to get there. So it's really, you really are putting me on the spot because I love all of our books, and some of our authors will be mad at me if I haven't mentioned them.
No, I know. It's like asking you, who's your favorite child?
Yes, that's exactly what it's like. You know, you don't have to divert.
Yeah, absolutely.
On that question.
No, thank you for those recommendations. Those books sound amazing. And maybe some of the listeners will actually look them up and read them. So how did you transition from a successful corporate career to becoming a book coach and publisher? And what inspired you to make that change? You already hinted at this, like you wanted the freedom, but what was it, the last thing that made you make this decision?
Well, I could never have made that transition if there wasn't like a cataclysmic event in our family. I was making a lot of money, like several $100,000 a year. And what happened was that my dad was diagnosed with a terminal brain tumor. And so I quit everything, and we knew he'd only live about 7 months. So I quit everything to go down and be with my parents during that time, and a little bit after with my mom, you know, after he passed away. And then when I came home, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, now I can do anything I want. You know, I mean, it was like a freedom, because even though I had those jobs, they were so stressful. I mean, and all I'd ever wanted to do was be a writer. But when I got out of school, I got this job with IBM, and it just kind of led one thing into another, and it was good money. You can get trapped by that, by the way. Yep. So I ended up, actually, I went back to school to get a master's degree in writing. And then when I graduated with that, they asked me to join the faculty to teach. And at the same time, I started Stonebrook Publishing, which is our nonfiction publishing house. And the first book we published was written by a Holocaust survivor who'd gone to school with Anne Frank. And we ended up doing their book release at their school in Amsterdam, which is a long, 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 long way from the US. So that was, it was amazing. It was amazing. And then the next book that we published, we ended up getting back cover endorsements for that book from Sir Paul McCartney and Cindy Crawford. And so I was like, wow, this is really going great, you know. But there was a big problem. Most of them, all of the other manuscripts we were getting had that seed of something, change lives, save lives, transform society, but they were so poorly written, we couldn't do anything with them. So I took a step back. I didn't publish anything for a year. And I wrote a step by step process that would take just the average person all the way from their idea, all the way through a planned, written, edited, and published book on the market. And that's what has been so successful, because just because you're not a writer, I mean, if you've never written a book, how would you even know how to get started? I mean, how would you know? You'd fiddle fart around, you'd make mistakes, and you'd put it away. And what we've developed is a shortcut, do it right the first time process that will help you to express yourself and to get your ideas out of you and out into the world.
That sounds great. Could you walk us through that step-by-step process so that entrepreneurs understand how to write this book and how it can help them expand their business?
Absolutely. So we start. Okay. So when people, and I guarantee you, most of your audience has thought about writing a book. And what happens is you got all this stuff swirling around in your head. It's like just a mess. You don't know what to do with it. And I'll be the first to tell you that you can't put everything you know in a book. So we have to prioritize it. So we start out with a series of foundational questions that help you to crystallize your message. And they're things like, why are you even doing this? What's your motivation? Who is your audience? Very specifically, let's narrow that audience down. How will the audience be changed as a result of reading your message? And so there's 12 of these questions. And so we end up taking the answers and distilling them down into a purpose statement for your book. And that will say, the purpose of this book is to do this specific thing for this particular audience, period. That becomes your job then, to deliver the audience to realize the purpose of the book. So when you're thinking about putting things in your book, we go back to the purpose statement. Does it fit in? Yeah, that doesn't really fit here. Okay, put it aside. You may have another book in you and stuff. So once we have that purpose statement, that's what helps us prioritize. So we then map out the entire contents of your book in a book map. Now, a book map is a visual representation of everything in your book, kind of like a mind map. Mm-hmm. Everything that you're going to say, every point you're going to make, every problem you're going to solve, every story you're going to tell is on that map. So that when you start writing, there's no such thing as writer's block. It becomes a matter of execution. So back to these book maps. There's two of them, and they are so cleverly named Book Map 1 and Book Map 2. But the first one is your own personal story. You have to ingratiate yourself toward the reader. They want to know where you came from and how are you in this position now to be delivering this life-changing information to them. They need to know you before they can learn from you. Mm-hmm. But the second map is really your chapter maps. And we construct those in problem solution sets where you name the problems that your audience is likely to have. And then through a very story-driven methodology, you present the solutions. So we're also entertaining to keep people reading stories. So if you fast forward to the end where you have this foundation product, your book, because we developed it in problem solution sets, you should be able to take every chapter out and repurpose that material for other revenue producing products, whether it's keynote speeches, seminars, workshops, video training, online courses, podcasts. And so we know everybody's not going to read your book. Everybody's not going to read your book.
Yeah. True.
So let's meet your market where they're already engaged and deliver the same material to them in a different format.
That sounds amazing. Such a clever strategy.
Well, like I said, you talked to me about this earlier. You're like, when we're done, we're going to slice and dice this. We're going to put this here. We're going to put this
exactly.
Here. It's the same thing. It's
same
one
part.
Effort, and then it's repurposing.
Yeah, I love repurposing.
Yeah. It's efficient. It's efficient. And it's all you. It's not a computer generated idea. It's all you being able to blanket the market where your audience is engaged. So it's really helps you to extend your brand or even build your brand if you haven't kind of narrowed in on that yet.
Yeah, meet people where they're at and find the platforms that they're on and repurpose all the content everywhere.
Exactly.
Now, what type of entrepreneurs would benefit the most from going through your process? And can you share maybe some more success stories of what they can expect from a business growth point of standpoint?
Sure. I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to quit your day job because you may not make money on your book. Mm-hmm. However, the entrepreneurs that we work with that are most successful, first of all, we define your goals up front. And so some people want to use their book as a magnet to attract clients. many financial planners do that. And they actually, you can use your book to write your basic book and then write a series of books, and you just change the audience and the stories, but your basic information is so kind of like chicken soup for the soul for your message. And so we're working on some series for some people. Coaches and public speakers, or people who want to be speakers, are very successful with this. If you really want to be a speaker, you have to have a book now. And the thing of it is it's just, a book is not a book is not a book. You need a professional book. And, self-publishing is out there, and I applaud anybody who's written their book and done that. But most of the time people will give me their self-published books, and they don't know what they don't know. So they don't know that they shouldn't give it to anybody else. That's just not done well. Everything you do should maybe look just a little bit better than where you really are, so that you grow into it. And our professional books certainly do that. But anybody who wants to attract to get out of your own little circle that you're already in, so that you can attract people from other people's circles, and would benefit from this. And a lot of people, like I said, coaches and public speakers, someone who has developed something, or an entrepreneur who has found a new way to do something and wants to share it with other people, is also a really good candidate. There's another whole class of authors that we work with, and I call those overcomers. And those are people who have overcome some really dire circumstances and are now a shining example of something in their, area of expertise. And they want to be an inspiration to others to, help them through whatever trials they're going through.
And what would you say, how important is it that the entrepreneur already has established a huge audience before they write their book? Is that something that's important, or is that something that's the book is going to help them with?
It's not important, because we all start somewhere. And if you are, Stonebrook Publishing is a hybrid press. There were 4 big publishers. You have to have a huge, huge audience before they will consider you. And plus, you don't make any money doing that either. But it costs you a lot of money and you don't make anything. One of the things that has been really gratifying to me is that as people are in maybe even the initial stages of their entrepreneurial journey, it really helps them to crystallize what their offer is, what they want to communicate. We got that purpose statement. It's pretty clear what they want to communicate, and they start building their brand from that. And then when they have their book, we work with them on artwork and stuff that they might use as their branding, for the cover, so that it's consistent everywhere. So it's an early stage entrepreneur is also a good candidate for this. And remember what I said, I always try to create things that make me look a little bit better than I am. We're creating something that, if you're early stage entrepreneur, that reflects you as now you're there, and then you kind of grow into that. So it's beneficial.
That's really interesting that you say that, because I talked to someone else who's in the book coaching and publishing world, and she said kind of like the opposite. She said, build a platform first, build an audience first. And it's more for the established entrepreneurs than for the early stage entrepreneurs. But I guess that's...
Yeah, I have a different opinion because I've seen it work.
Right. Yeah, I like that. In your
I don't think people shouldn't be eliminated and all. Just because you're not there, wherever there is yet, that doesn't mean you don't have something to say and communicate that could help other people and give them the hope and help that people need. That's like muzzling people, let's get it out there, let it, it's going to take you a year to write your book, and people need to know that up front. And that's because we've really, it's chunked in a way that busy entrepreneurs can do it. You can't sit down and do 10 hours a day writing, we're just doing piece here, then this week, so that you can actually get it finished.
Yeah, that's an important part.
It is. It is.
A lot of people start, but not everyone finishes.
Well, we want you to finish. We want to get your ideas out there and working.
I love that. In your experience, what are some common mistakes that entrepreneurs make when they are writing and publishing a book, and how can they avoid them?
Well, one of the biggest mistakes is that is in their confidence. They think, who am I to write a book? I don't have anything to say. I've only had this life. I would disagree with that. We will help you find your, those foundational questions I talk about can really draw things out, and we can help you find your message. But you're the only one who can tell your story, and you've achieved some things or overcome some things. And I always think, well, who are you to keep that to yourself? Let's share what we have and improve things for other people. The other mistake they can make is they just sit down and they think, okay, I'm going to write a book, and they just start writing. Inevitably, because they don't have a structure or a kind of goal, they get all tangled up and might shove it in a drawer and give up. So I highly advocate for following a process first and getting the structure down and then filling in the material. Sometimes people think they're really good and they aren't open to suggestions on how to improve their writing. They think, well, I majored in English in college and such. And so what I found out which I did, when I went back to graduate school, I found out that I was not very good, and I thought I was. And so when we're writing the rough draft of your book, that's where I put my professor hat on. And I teach you to write really compelling, creative nonfiction, and you are going to surprise yourself. You will not believe how good you are by the end of this. And so we just need an instruction. And like anything else, there's more to it than you might realize. And I would not encourage you to self-publish because, frankly, publishing is a really old industry. And it's like banking, it goes way back. And there are a lot of conventions that you don't even realize, and you're going to miss out on opportunities for the professionalism and all sorts of legal work with registering your copyright with the Library of Congress and such that we take care of for you.
That sounds like a great process to go through for anyone who wants to write their nonfiction expert book. So last but not least, where can our listeners find out more about you and your work, and where can they connect with you online?
Well, thank you for asking. I love talking to people about their book ideas, and at no obligation. So if you go to my website, thebookprofessor.com, there's a link at the top that says schedule a call with Nancy. And I mean, if you're just thinking about it, just do that. We can be friends. It's no obligation. I'm not going to try to force you to write a book or anything, but I can help you vet out your ideas. And again, it's thebookprofessor.com, and the link at the top, schedule a call.
Sounds easy enough. Awesome. Nancy, thank you so much for sharing all those tips and insights with us today. I really enjoyed our conversation, and it's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, Claudia.
Take care and talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Wired for Success podcast. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. That's a fantastic, easy, and zero-cost way to help the show grow. Just use the link in the show notes and make my day. If you'd like to take it one step further, you can now join my inner circle and become an official supporter of the Wired for Success podcast. Supporting the show is super simple and will only take about 30 seconds. Basically, it works like any other paid subscription. All you have to do is to go to glow.fm/wiredforsuccess podcast, pay $5 per month or as much or as little as you like, and choose the link of the podcast player you want to use. You can listen anywhere in any app. So for less than the price of 1 to 2 fancy coffees per month, you can really make a difference and help me keep this show awesome. For more tips and info, check out my website at wiredforsuccess.solutions. Thanks a ton, and talk to you soon.